All right, welcome back. This is part two of 1.4, solving quadratic equations. But this part here deals with the discriminant. So let's go ahead and begin. 1.4, part two. Okay, so the discriminant. So this is the part of the quadratic formula that's inside the radical. So this is inside. Here, hold on a second. The part of the quadratic formula. The part of the quadratic formula inside the radical. Okay, so here that would be b squared minus 4ac. Okay, and so this part is inside the radical, so we know that if inside the radical is negative, we end up with imaginary, something that's not real. Okay, so we have some situations here. So if I'll call this D, let's call this D for discriminant. So if the discriminant D, which is b squared minus 4ac, if that is positive, then we have two distinct solutions, real solutions. Two distinct real solutions. Okay. If we end up with 0, then we only have one real solution. And this will make sense once we take a look at it and inspect. Okay, and then if the discriminant b squared minus 4ac, if that turns out to be negative, then we end up with a negative underneath the square root, in which case then we have no real solution. We end up with imaginary. Okay, so it makes sense. Let's just inspect this. Okay, so we know that if you have square root of 4, right? So this is that first case. The discriminant is greater than 0, so like 4, right? And then we'll look at the second case where the discriminant is 0, so inside the radical is 0. And then we'll look at the third case where the discriminant is negative, so like negative 4, okay? All right, so if we have this first case where it's positive, greater than 0, then we have two answers, right? So, and it says here you'll have two distinct real solutions. So that makes sense. If you have 0, then here you get plus minus 0, but that's the same as just saying 0, right? So that's just one case. Okay, so one solution. And then if you have a square root of negative 4, then you don't have a real solution here. Because here, square root of negative 4 is imaginary. Okay? All right, and you have to kind of remember that the quadratic formula, you have something being added, right? Because it's like x equals negative b plus minus square root, right? So it's like you have something here plus minus this answer here. So over here, you would have something plus 2, something minus 2. You'll have two different answers. Over here, you'll just have something plus 0. You only get one result, okay? And over here, you get no real solution, okay? All right, so hopefully that makes sense. So it's not like you really have to memorize this here, these three different cases. You just have to kind of think it through. Okay, well, the discriminant b squared minus 4ac. Okay, I got 5. So that would be like something plus or minus square root 5. Okay, 2 answers. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at some examples here. Let's go ahead and use the discriminant. Use the discriminant to determine how many real solutions each equation has. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to have you try it with this one. Okay, so 4x squared minus 12x plus 9 equals 0. So go ahead and use that discriminant and tell me how many solutions you think this will have. Okay, so go ahead and hit the pause button and then come right back. Okay, so the discriminant again is this part, b squared minus 4ac, the part that's inside the radical, the square root. Okay, so b is negative 12 minus 4 times a is 4, and c is positive 9. Okay, and then here I get 144 minus 16 times 9. 16 times 9 is 144. So I get 0 here. Okay, so if I get 0 in that part of the quadratic formula, then I'm getting plus minus 0, right? Which is going to be the same. Okay, so I only get one result here, one real solution. Okay. Go ahead and try this next one. 1/3 x squared minus 2x plus 4 equals 0. Okay, hit the pause button and come right back. Okay, 2 ways to go about this. If you want to clear your fraction here, you could multiply everything by 3 to avoid them. If you do that, then you would use this equation instead, 6x plus 12. Okay, so either equation will give you the same result for the, not necessarily the same number, but the same scenario. You're either scenario 1, 2, or 3. Okay, all right, I'm going to go ahead and keep this one over here. All right, so again, using b squared minus 4ac. All right, so b is negative 2. Negative 2 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1/3, and c, which is 4. Okay, and I get 4 minus 16 over 3. Okay, so I will turn this into a fraction and get the common denominator, which is 3. So that will be 12 over 3 minus 16 over 3. And that will give me negative 4/3. Okay, so I get negative 4/3. I'm going to end up with a negative number underneath the square root. So that would give me imaginary results. So I have 0 real solutions. Okay. All right, so that is it for 1.4. And your homework now is not through the ebook, it is on WebAssign. So you will be doing it all online, not on paper with pencil. And you do have a window, so keep track of the due date. If you have any questions, make sure you text me or email me.